I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation.
That's fair. It's all fair, but half the country's still wondering how Joe Biden got rich.
Yeah. He reminds me of a pathetic villain in a movie.
This was a love letter to America.
And so this was the final speech.
Joe Biden gives his farewell speech, and I call it a good riddance speech. It is horrifying to watch him even speak. It's so clear that he should not even be speaking on TV this way. They can't fix him. They cut all around it and try to edit it. I'm going to show you a few highlights, some of the MSNBC brainwashing and fallout. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. This is where the happy patriots are. As we together have been mocking the media, lying to you for years now.
I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. And this is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
That's just old school class warfare. By the way, they edited that one. I didn't edit it. It goes to white, then it comes back up because he's making so many mistakes that they had to re-record it, which is usually these speeches are given live, and this one was obviously pre-recorded because he's a disaster. Because part of what he warns of is a media industrial complex. They're only implying that X made a move and Facebook made a move and Amazon has been making moves to chum up with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. That's the only reason this whole thing is here. It's a totally disposable, utterly forgettable speech.
You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power.
And he acts like, oh, I don't know about where this is coming from, this misinformation. It came from your party for 30 years now in media, brainwashing people. And in the last year, Elon Musk buys X. We have free speech on one platform, not MSNBC, not CNN, not Hollywood, not universities. Everywhere else, we get stomped out, fired for speaking our mind, only on one platform. And what he's really doing is, this is tears going, that's why I lost the election. It's because I didn't have that one platform, but I had all the others, and I would have won too. I'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for Elon Musk. That's what he's really doing here in his farewell speech. He's blaming everything on Musk. And I just want to tell you guys, maybe he's right. I just think it's awesome that we finally got free speech on X and we got to speak our mind, and the spell broke, the fever broke on everyone. The truth came out and this guy lied, and now they're trying to scoop up the pieces and put something back together for this party, and it's gone. Biden's legacy, you're not gonna be able to control what people say about you, which is you're a murderous loser. This is a guy who's warning about the tech industrial complex when he built up the military and complex in funding Ukraine. He didn't even build up our industrial complex. He built up theirs by sending unprecedented numbers, and then he comes and warns us of not the military industrial complex, but the tech one.
The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. We have to stay engaged in the process. I know it's frustrating, A fair shot is what makes America America. Everyone's entitled to a fair shot. Not a guarantee, but just a fair shot. An even playing field. Going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth. Remain who we are.
And he's just fading off and fading off. And talk about a social media industrial complex that's powerful like an oligarchy. The complex told you that guy was sharp as a tack for the last 4 years. Talk about misinformation. And now they lost because the truth got out through one platform. Now, here's Kevin O'Leary asking the big question, how did Biden get rich? If he's not an oligarch and he's not one of the guys in power, this is a guy who had very little money and suddenly in this last 8 years, ginormous wealth. He's never made one product. How did it happen? I'm going to love, there's one part in this where a Democrat says in the background, and I put the words up on the screen, he goes, well, he wrote a book, he got a book deal as if that's where you get $400 million from.
Letting people get rich. It's about not letting rich people control the political process and not having our politicians captured by those rich people such that they can't institute but I just regulation want you to know, the country
and
common sense laws to make sure that the people at the top don't abuse the people at the bottom. And our system in Washington is broken.
That's fair. It's all fair, but half the country's still wondering how Joe Biden got rich.
Yeah, okay, so here...
How did he get rich?
But if Joe Biden got rich...
How did he get rich? Does anybody understand how that happened?
I actually think that, Kevin, your question about Joe Biden's legacy and how he will be seen is actually extremely important because I think it's not just Republicans who are asking the question, is Joe Biden going to be looked back on fondly? Democrats are too.
Oh, yeah. Democrats know he's not going to be looked upon fondly. He's actually the one who kept Carter from being the worst president of our lifetime. It is now toppled by Joe Biden. Remember Joe Biden, who's so concerned about powerful oligarchs manipulating you, and then he just gave a Medal of Freedom to George Soros, top richest guy, billionaire, who has funded more Democrats in the last 15 years than any other single source. So he's completely lying to you, even on his farewell address. He could have told the truth for just 1 second. By the way, George Soros talks about the rich owning communications. George Soros got the Democrats to waive rules so he could buy 200 radio stations and knock Mark Levin off the air. That's how dangerous they are. Here's Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld.
He reminds me of a pathetic villain in a movie. The movie's over. He lost. The credits have rolled. People have left the theater, and he's still there, going, "What do I do next?" Biden is in such bad shape, Jesse, that at the Jimmy Carter's funeral, people were offering condolences to Dr. Jill.
Trump left Biden a world that was much more peaceful and safer than Biden is leaving him. If you think about what was left for Joe, peace, secure border. Now Trump's coming in. He's looking at 2 hot proxy wars that cartels are dominating the border. We just had the second deadliest terror attack domestically here since 9/11. And the former FBI director on his way out said, yeah, there's Chinese sleeper cells all over the country, by the way.
And meanwhile, Joe Biden warned you about a media industrial complex. He set the world on fire. How dare he? You know what? This guy's going to be remembered as a disaster. I am just relieved that his fading memory is nearly already gone and he's not even out the door yet.
He talks about all these alliances. Our allies' leaders were laughing at Joe behind his back. They were scheduling meetings so he wouldn't fall asleep. They were scheduling dinners earlier, and he'd still skip them because he was so tired. So, what's the Biden doctrine? I have no idea. The Biden mantra was don't. Everybody violated it. He's probably not going to get a presidential library, and that's good because there's really not a lot to say.
Yeah, they'd all have to be picture books. Pop-ups.
Maybe the only thing in Biden's presidential library will be the book that he wrote, where they're saying that he made what? I don't even know how much money. But I hope he doesn't get a library. He doesn't deserve one. He doesn't deserve any honor. And now here's Rachel Maddow spinning his farewell address into something she thinks is moving, and it's hilarious.
I had wondered heading into this speech whether he was going to try to give some sort of warning to the country. I did not expect it to be this stark. As you said, he said, tonight there is an oligarchy taking shape in America. dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people, a tech industrial complex that poses real dangers. He talked about a tide of misinformation and disinformation enabling the abuse of power. He talked about the free press crumbling, which put a shiver down my spine, and then talked about how truth is being sacrificed for lies for the purposes of power and profit. So this is important because he has essentially decided not to brag on the way out about what he did. He did a little of that, but really he's taken this last moment to say, here is what we've got right now, and this is why. This is not just dangerous because it doesn't sound American. It's dangerous because this is what they're doing to you.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow, you did it to us. For a whole year, you've been saying Biden sharp as a tack. Not afraid of the new people in charge, terrified of the people. I'm terrified of the people that just left. Thank goodness they're gone. But she continues her brainwashing, which is part of why you don't want these people in charge of your media.
This was a love letter to America for an outgoing president who is very worried about what he describes as oligarchy, and he thinks that we as individual citizens are going to have to change the country a lot in order to stop it from this drift that it's on, which he portrayed in very, very ominous terms.
Everything Biden did is worse than even the media. What he did with China, what he did with Russia, like totally exposed us. How he stabbed Israel in the back, how his weakness projected around the world, made sure that everyone walked. That's more dangerous even than having the small military. And by the way, the military's only shrunk under him because he made it so woke and DEI, full of rainbow flags everywhere, that all of the recruitments are down in all our branches of military. They'll come back under Trump. But Biden was the greatest military danger to us. And that's why he's saying, look over here at social media.
And there was a point in the speech early where I made a note to myself that this was reminding me of Ike, meaning Dwight Eisenhower, and his military-industrial complex warning. And sure enough, a moment later, that's exactly what President Biden was talking about. Decades from now, President Biden's warning about the oligarchy taking shape in America and what he called the tech industrial complex might be the most remembered lines spoken by President Biden.
And that's Lawrence O'Donnell trying to make something memorable out of Biden's colossally embarrassing, robotic, mumbling, just crumbling before our eyes. The Democrats were going to run him to be your president for 4 more years. That's what they did with their media industrial complex. Is Biden warning us about that? That the truth almost slipped out about him?
Joe Biden served more years in government before he became president than any other president. And so this was the final speech in the longest career of any politician who has ever made it to the presidency.
Serving in government is not a credit to you, okay? It's not a job. You didn't get a job. You didn't earn it. You got elected, and you just sat there in politics outside of the private sector where they actually expect results, and you gave us no results for your entire career, Joe Biden. May you rest in peace. Goodbye. I'm Doug TenNapel in exile.